Okay, guys, we're going to go over the questions on our 6-way paragraph called rainforests. It looks like this. Rainforests. I have the questions up here on the screen. So number 1 says mark the main idea and mark the statement that is too broad and mark the statement that is too narrow. So right here, you're not choosing A, B, or C. What you're doing is you're looking at A, B, and C, reading them, and marking which one of these is the main idea. So I recommend starting with that. So let's read through them. Many animals in the rainforest stay high in the trees. Yeah, many animals do. Remember we talked about the monkeys and bats and snakes. Okay, B says, a rainforest is a home for many interesting animals. Yes, we talked about monkeys, snakes, bats, tapirs, anteaters. C says, many interesting animals live in tropical climates. Yeah, because we talked about interesting animals that live in the rainforest, which is a tropical climate. All right, let's choose the best statement for the main idea here. Here's where you really need to dig deep and make some inferences to what the main idea is. So I like B, first of all, because it says a rainforest, because we know the whole passage was about rainforests. So let's read it again. A rainforest is a home for many interesting animals. When I look back at my text, I'll scroll up. Besides this intro tiny little 2-sentence or 3-sentence paragraph here, and okay, I guess this part too, but this whole paragraph and this whole paragraph are about interesting animals in the rainforest. So I know that a lot of the passage was about the animals. So a rainforest is a home for many interesting animals is an amazing choice. When I look at A, oh, and by the way, that's where you'd put an M next to it. Okay, right here. That means this is the main idea. Now we're looking at A and C. One of them is going to be too broad, meaning it is too much to be a main idea, too big, too broad. And then mark the statement that is too narrow. Narrow means it's a little too specific. It's maybe about 1 or 2 details about the story. It's not enough to be the main idea. So one has too much to be the main idea, and one has too little. Okay? So A, many animals in the rainforest stay high in the trees. That's true. We did learn that about monkeys, snakes, and bats, but we learned about a lot of other things about the rainforest as well. So that's going to be too narrow. It's too specific. It's like one cool detail. Okay, so that's where you'd mark an N for too narrow on this one. Now C, don't just put the B there. We need to make sure it works. Many interesting animals live in tropical climates. Yeah, but it's too big. It's talking about all tropical climates and many interesting animals. So we're just going to go with B. It's too big to talk about tropical climates instead of rainforests specifically. Okay, moving on. Number 2. This passage is mainly about trees, tropical rainforests, anteaters, monkeys. What do you think? This is the subject matter of this story. What's this whole story about? What's this whole passage about? What was the author trying to convey to us? Was he or she only talking about trees, tropical rainforests, anteaters, or monkeys? We talked about trees. We talked about anteaters. We talked about monkeys. But we also talked about many other things than just those. So we're going to go with B, tropical rainforest, just like the title told us. Okay, this is about supporting details, okay? Mud protects the tapir from monkeys, anteaters, heat, insects. If you don't remember, you need to go back. Don't guess. Go back. Find where in this passage there's writing about the tapir. I see the word tapir right here, so I'm going to go back and scan this area. I see that it covers itself with mud from head to foot. When the mud dries, it forms a kind of armor. Okay, here we go. It protects the tapir from biting insects. So a lot of times, guys, you need to go back and reread, okay? So it's D, biting insects. Okay, conclusion. This tells us this is near the end of the story, or it's what the whole story was about at the end. Like, how did it wrap up? It is probable that few plants grow on the rainforest floor because, even better. This is about making an inference. Why? You have to think to yourself. It might not necessarily state it blatantly in the story, but why is it that there's not a whole lot of plants on the floor of the rainforest, but way up above? Do we remember? It says there is not enough light. Most animals are in the trees. There is not enough water. It is too hot. Okay. So let's talk about there is not enough light. This is true because they talked about the high ceiling of trees that blocked the light and that the forest floor was dark and quiet. B, most animals are in the trees. But we did learn about animals that were on the ground too, like the tapir, right? And the anteater. C, there is not enough water. It's a rainforest. It's always wet. So there's a lot of water. So we can cross out B and C. We know those are not right. What about it's too hot? Well, it is hot in the rainforest. But it never stated that would be a reason why plants can't grow on the floor. The reason they can't grow on the floor is because there's not enough light. When we scroll back up and we read this part, the trees in a rainforest are very tall and have very few limbs. So they're just tall trees. The leaves are all at the top. They form a high ceiling. Here's where I'm visualizing the rainforest, okay? Very little sunlight comes through because all the leaves at the top are blocking it. Inside the rainforest, it is dark and quiet as a church. There are very few low-growing plants on the rainforest floor. So what it's talking about is the sunlight can't get through, so there's no plants growing on the bottom or very few, and there's lots of leaves creating a ceiling on top. Okay. Clarifying devices. Number 5. The activity in a rainforest is compared to a zoo, a church, a circus trapeze show, a tropical pet shop. Okay, let's cross out the ones we know it's not. We never talked about a zoo. We never talked about a tropical pet shop. So let's talk about B and C, a church or a circus trapeze show. Both of those were mentioned in the passage, but you need to clarify which one this actual statement is comparing to. It says the activity. Activity is things that are going on, okay? Not lack thereof. Activity is like all the things that are happening in the rainforest. And that was compared to a circus trapeze show. When it compared the rainforest to a church is when it said it was dark and quiet as a church on the floor. Okay. It did compare it to a church being quiet and dark, but when we're talking about the activity, we were talking about the animals swinging from vine to vine and snakes slithering out and bats flying. So activity goes with circus trapeze show. C. Okay, vocabulary and context. Okay, this underlined word is also going to be underlined in the passage, so we can go back and look at it if we need to. This says a fascinating animal is dangerous, interesting, frightening, active. So we're just asking, what does fascinating mean? Does it mean dangerous, interesting, frightening, active? Well, it's not dangerous, it's not frightening. I just know that. If you're not sure, Google the definition, look it up. Also, go back to your text. It says the animals that stay near the ground are fascinating too. So are they dangerous too? Are they interesting too? Are they frightening too? Or are they active too? They are active, but in this case, fascinating means interesting. So that would be B. And that is how we go through a 6-way paragraph. Make sure to read the title, make predictions, visualize it in your mind when you're reading it. Maybe read it 2 or 3 times through, then you'll really know a lot about the story. And go through, well, you don't have to go through the questions first, but I do recommend it. And then when you're not sure, eliminate the wrong answers and then go back Scan the text and reread for more information. Good job, guys.